Way back in 1956, 6 British men made it to Singapore in a Land Rover 6 months after setting off from London. And they called it the First Overland expedition, and it was the very first time anyone had made the journey by vehicle. Now, over 60 years later, they're recreating it, this time in reverse. Natalie Powell reports.
Outside this London pub stands a replica of one of the vehicles that made an historic journey between 1955 and 56 from London to Singapore. It's called Cambridge. Its sister Land Rover Oxford has been refurbished and is going to recreate that journey 64 years later.
We had police escorts and sirens and all the rest of it, and pulled into Champion Motors. Champagne popped and flash bulbs bulbed, or whatever flash bulbs do, and oh, it was great.
More astonishingly, perhaps, is that one of the original members of that first expedition is hoping to do it all over again too, aged 87.
Initially you think, well, it's a silly idea. You know, why bother? And then you think, no, hang on. And of course, a number of Singaporeans have actually done it.
The difference this time around, apart from the year, is the route is in reverse, beginning in Singapore and finishing in London. Tim will also be joined by his grandson Nat and documentary filmmaker Alex.
The motivation for me was to try and pay homage to what was an amazing expedition, and to see the world in the meantime.
A little more support will be on hand this time though, and modern technology is likely to make the expedition a bit easier.
We have GPS mapping, which we didn't have. We obviously have the internet, mobile phones. We will be able to communicate on the journey, where they were relying on typewriters in the mail. You know, and I think that's an amazing thing that we can tell the story in real time.
Before heading to Singapore, where the Land Rover will depart on the 25th of August from the F1 pit straight in Marina Bay, the team are having a send-off here at the Grenadier pub, exactly as they did over 6 decades ago. The team are expected to travel 10,000 miles across all sorts of terrain in one of the original vehicles. They're calling this the Last Overland, a nod to the initial expedition, the First Overland, and they're expected to be back here in London 100 days after setting off. Natalie Powell, CNA, London.